Nacho man, yeah. I got to be a Nacho man. Got to be a Nacho man. I got to be a Nacho man.
Welcome, Vault Dwellers. My name is Nacho Bidness, and we're going to talk about secure vending machines today. Well, what do I mean by secure vending machines? Well, if you're like me, from time to time, you will find yourself getting awfully close to that 40,000 cap limit. And if you've got some expensive things that are in your vending machines, you may not want to accidentally sell those to some other player, or you've got like a gun that you're wanting to charge 10,000 caps for, and you've only got and you've got 39,000 caps, so you only ended up with 1,000 caps for that gun. Major bummer, right? So there's a couple things you can do to try and prevent that, but they're not 100% effective. Used to be that you could turn the power off to your vending machine and you would disappear from the map. I guess that was too complicated for some people, so now instead, rancid hobo fart. Now instead, what you can do is turn your public map icon on and off from the map screen. But that's still not 100% effective because if you're playing on a team, all of your teammates can find your camp. It shows up for them as a free fast travel location. And the inventory on your vending machine shows up whether or not your public map icon is on or not. And the other thing that can happen is that even if you've got your public map icon turned off, you can have people just come across your camp, especially if you're in a fairly well-traveled area. So your options at that point are kind of limited because you could store the vending machine, but then that means that you have to restock it when you put it back down, or same thing if you just remove all the stock from the vending machine. I usually like to keep mine full at the full 120 items, and so that can be very tedious to remove all those items and then put them all back. You could potentially blueprint that vending machine, but I have had some bugs associated with that particular workaround. So what I've come up with here is a simple way that is very fast to be able to limit access to your vending machines. Sorry for that long intro, but I felt like it was necessary to explain why we would even want to do something like this. So we're in my shelter right now, and I've got a couple little demonstrators set up here for a couple different concepts of how we're going to accomplish this. I'm not going to give you a tutorial on the basic structure. This could be any number of different things. It could be a freestanding structure like this, or it could be a room that's set aside in your house. The characteristics that are important are that once we're done, you're the only person who can access this space, and the vending machine itself needs to be snugged up right against a powered door. That way, when players approach the door and the door eventually opens, they won't be able to wiggle their way inside of this room that you were trying to keep them out of. So, again, like I said, this could be a smaller room inside of a bigger house or a freestanding structure like this. The first way that we can wire this up is what I would call a remote control method. There's no power in this conduit right now. I can tell because I've left myself an indicator light, which means that there's not going to be any power in this room. And what I can do is I like to have a power room that is a dedicated, and I can turn on and off all the different parts of my camp from a single room with a series of switches. And budget intense way to operate, and if so, keep that in mind. But now that I turn that switch on, I'm going to have power in this room way over here, and I can wire up my vending machine. So it's very simple. All we're going to do is we're going to take power from wherever our input is into our enclosed space and hook to the vending machine. It's not strictly necessary to power the vending machine, but I do like the lighting effects that they have. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a temporary wire between this vending machine and the door. And that's going to force the door open. And with the door open, I'll be able to run a wire through that wall. I wouldn't be able to do this unless the door was in the open position. Next thing I want to do is just kind of for the sake of, I guess, neatness or whatever, I like to put a power conduit over to the side a little bit. And I hook my pressure plate to there. And then I'm going to hook my conduit to the door. Right, so this is a extremely simple circuit. We've got input power that goes to the vending machine to pressure plate, and pressure plate to door. And once I remove this temporary wire, the door closes, and if I replace this wall with something that doesn't have a door in it, I've now got a system where I can decide whether or not other players are going to have access to my vending machines, and I don't have to remove my stock from the vending machines or anything else. I can just, with the flip of a switch, allow access or restrict access. Actually, one other thing I wanted to do here, I wanted to mention that I do like to allow some kind of window or other way for players to see into this space, because a lot of times people will see this and think that it's some kind of trap and be hesitant to step on the switch. If they can see inside and see that there's no traps, they're more willing to step on the plate and take a look at your inventory. The other thing I like to do is I like to have a conduit that is just always on, so that when I decide to have my vending machines accessible, I can also have some lights on the outside that indicate that we're open for business and what is behind the door. This is harder to accomplish, having the lights on with the vending machine on and lights off with vending machine off, if you built this into an existing structure. So bear that in mind. Now, one other thing that I'll mention before we go to our second concept here is that if you're going to turn your vending machines off and restrict access to them, I think that it is common courtesy to turn your map icon off. That way people don't travel to your camp, spend the money to get to where you're at, only to find out that they're not allowed to buy anything or even go and look at the inventory. So just, be nice to your fellow players. So that was the remote control concept. Let's take a look at another concept where the control is right here in the room. This might actually be even a little bit more useful when it comes to building this into an existing house that you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a switch right on the back of my vending machine. So, oops, that's kind of buried. Let's get that out a little bit. And so I'm going to take my input power and hook to the switch, or hook the switch to the input power. I guess it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to connect the switch to the vending machine, and vending machine to the door. Sorry about that light that's flashing on and off. I've got a light in here that's hooked to my pressure plate so that when I'm in there, the light's on. Anyway, so we went from the switch to the vending machine to pressure plate, and we can put a conduit down. It's not strictly necessary, but I just think that the wiring looks a little bit neater if we do it this way. And we can hook the pressure plate to the conduit, and I've already got the conduit accidentally hooked to the door, so there we go. Same concept again. It's switch to vending machine, pressure plate to door. And when I remove this temporary wire, we have got it to where the door opens when we approach. You notice that I didn't have to put down a separate power conduit emitter for these lights to turn on. That's because the switch itself acts as an emitter. And the last thing I'll do here is I'm going to replace this with a wall. And now the only way to get in and access that switch is through my keypad door here. I will say that you can use a door with a lock on it as opposed to these keypad doors. However, locks can be picked by people who are willing to accept the wanted tag. So the keypad door, on the other hand, is a much harder security feature to defeat, which is why I like to use it for an application like this. And with that switch off, we can see we no longer have access to the vending machine. And we also have turned off all of our lights, indicating people that this is not open for business. So there you go. It's very simple to accomplish, but for myself, this saves me a lot of time not having to remove stock and then later add stock back into my vending machines. I've gotten a lot of people who come through my camp and give me comments and thumbs up on the setup here, that they indicating that they like what I did with the place. So give it a try for yourself and let me know what you thought of this little tutorial in the comments. If you liked it, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you did not like, I would really like to know why in a comment so that I can try and do better for you next time. I do have more Fallout 76 content coming, so if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm going to say it's a great big wasteland out there. Let's go have fun in it.